Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Excited to be with you today. We're going to take a trip to Bologna and we're going to make lasagna. And in Italiano, it's going to be pronounced lasagna alla bolognese. And remember, in the Italian language, we pronounce all the letters. But in Bologna, they're known for meat. You're bologna, right? So essentially, alla bolognese is going to be lasagna with meat. And we're going to make the traditional version of lasagna. So when I say that, a lot of times on our recipes, they're not going to follow exactly a lot of the American style or the Italian-American style recipes. What we're going to make today is something that you would find traditionally in Bologna. So if you were to take a plane and land in Bologna, Italy, and ask for lasagna, this is pretty much what you're going to get, or certainly close to it. So I'm really excited to bring this recipe with you, or to you, and I'm going to show you how to make it. It's easy, it's fun, it's going to taste absolutely delicious. Something maybe traditionally a little different than you have, but certainly something just equally as delicious. So let me go over some ingredients with you. We'll go from there. First, most importantly, you need an awesome kick-butt lasagna pan. So every family, certainly every Italian family, is going to have some pan they like to make lasagna, and here's mine, okay? And what we did is we got some sheets of lasagna. Now, lasagna is actually a type of pasta based on its cut. So like if you have fettuccine or linguine or what have you, that's based upon, it gets its name from the diameter or thickness of the pasta. So in this case, there's sheets of pasta. So lasagna usually is something that's very wide, something a little bit thicker, and this is made from durum flour, and it's really top quality pasta. So certainly that's what you want to do. I can tell you, never skimp on your pasta. So whether you make homemade pasta or dried pasta, always get the best ingredients. Certainly we've got our olive oil. And if you guys aren't familiar with our farm in Italy, we've got our Vito and Joe's, named after my two boys. Extra virgin Italian olive oil, something to make a great gift for any holiday. We've got some sea salt, we've got our fresh pepper. Now, lasagna in Bologna, they're going to typically use spinach. So again, in different areas of Europe or in America, you'll see different things that are put in there. But traditionally in Bologna, you're going to have spinach. Sometimes you'll see the pasta is actually made with spinach, but in this case, we're going to cook the spinach and we're going to dice it up and we're going to put it in between the layers. We've got Parmesan and Romano cheese. We've got butter, flour, some garlic, nutmeg. Oh, for any of you guys watch our videos, gotta love our nutmeg. We've got some whole milk, or actually what I got here is some sweet cream, 2.5 cups. And then I've got about 4 cups of our homemade bolognese sauce. Okay, so in this episode we're not going to show you how to make the bolognese sauce because that's a whole episode, but you're going to need anywhere from 3 to 4 cups of a bolognese sauce, something really good that's meat sauce. Okay, so that being said, let me show you how to put this together. Now what's really neat in this recipe is we're going to make a bechamel sauce, which is essentially a white sauce. And if you guys have ever made like a roux where you take fat and flour and you heat it up and then you add that to a sauce or an au jus, for example, to thicken up, that's basically what you're going to put in between the layers here. That's almost like their cheese. It adds like a cream to it in combination with the meat and the spinach and then our own cheese. Oh my God, it's going to be absolutely delicious. So that being said, let's get started. I'm going to start with our spinach. Now the easiest way that I found to do the spinach, and I've got about 4 cups and change, and I'm going to dice this up, okay? So again, you're not going to put a whole leaf of spinach in between there, right? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this up. We'll spend a few minutes, and then we're going to cook it down. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this up, and then we're going to cook it down with some salt, some olive oil, some pepper, and a little bit of garlic. And what that'll do is that'll just give you this beautiful flavor of spinach, flavored spinach, to put in the lasagna. And the easiest way to make lasagna is you want to just basically have everything prepared before you layer it. And that just makes it really easy to put together, makes it smooth. You're going to pop it in the oven, say 350 degrees, 30 to 40 minutes, depending on your size of your pan, how much lasagna you're making. And traditionally you're going to see, and I'll go over this with you as we go, you're not going to cook the pasta ahead of time. The pasta will cook with all the liquid that's within the lasagna itself, so you don't even need to cook the the pasta, just layer it in between there. A lot of times I watch people, you know, they'll cook the pasta, but you don't have to. So there we go. So we've got essentially some rough cut spinach, right? Real easy. I'm going to take my pan right over here. I'm going to fill it with a little olive oil and, you know, maybe 4 tablespoons or so. And then I'm going to put my garlic. Now in here I've got about 3 cloves of garlic. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm just going to get that warmed up and we'll get that started. And that'll cook down. So let me start this. So you're going to get that moving, and then I want to start my roux. Now the roux is going to be essentially a traditional roux. It's going to be a fat. You can use olive oil. You can, in Italy, traditionally you'll see lard being used. Sometimes that grosses people out, but in Italy, especially Bologna, you got to remember pork is a real common product in Bologna, so they're going to use a lot of lard. So they'll use a lard. My grandmother used to use that actually in her baking too. So they use lard or a fat and flour, and you'll cook that down until it just starts to turn just a touch brown. And in this case, we're going to add our sweet cream. It's going to be delicious. Sometimes people add a milk. I'm not opposed to milk, but the sweet cream or a cream will actually give it a much thicker, heartier flavor, which is delicious. So what we've got here is 5 sticks of butter. All right, so I'm going to put that in my pan. And what you want to do in this case is you want to heat your pan up first. And you want to get your fat, whatever fat you're going to use, you want to heat that up first before you add the flour. So in this case, we want the butter to be melted. So get a wooden spoon with a flat edge, nice big flat pan. And sometimes I'll add a little olive oil, which I probably will today, just a splash. And you're going to cook that down. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add the flour. And what the flour will do is the flour is going to make a paste. And you want to cook it, you want to heat it up until it's just, like I said, just starts to turn color. What that does is that takes that floury taste out of the roux, and it actually creates something that tastes delicious with a lot of complexity, a lot of depth to it. And then we're going to add our sweet cream to it, and that's going to be our white sauce. You're making almost like a cheese, if you will, but you're going to make like a hot, warm, creamy sauce that's going to go in between the layers of the lasagna with the spinach that's cooked down with garlic. Oh, and the bolognese sauce is going to be absolutely delicious. I'll tune back with you guys in a minute. Okay guys, so what I've got here, right, is I've got my oil going with my garlic, right? And I used a giant garlic in there. It's equivalent to maybe 2 or 3 cloves. I like the giant garlic sometimes just it's a little milder. And I love that. I got to tell you, the smell in this kitchen right now is so good. So you're just cooking it down. It's going to take a couple of minutes. I'm going to let that heat up, okay? Because let me tell you, the spinach will take moments with the lid, okay? Now I've got my fat melted here, okay? And as I said earlier, I'm probably going to add a little olive oil, and for some reason I feel the need, so I'm going to add a little olive oil. So traditionally it's going to have butter, sometimes olive oil, sometimes not. Sometimes you'll see people put onion, but a traditional smooth white sauce will be just this. Now what's really neat, and I love to make, is that roux. And you could make roux, for example, let's say for Thanksgiving, right? You want to make a roux to thicken your gravy. You'll take butter or some kind of a fat, and then you can add it to the flour, cook it down, and then you can add that to your gravy, and that'll thicken it right up. What's nice is it doesn't, you never want to add water or anything because it dilutes it. So in this case, you're going to always add flavor. That's one of the things you'll find with Italian cooking. It's always simple, and it's always going to add flavor. So now when this starts to get warm, like this is warm right now, we're ready to add that flour. So I've got about 1/2 cup of flour. And the general rule on a roux is you add equal parts of fat and flour. Equal parts of fat and flour. There you go. In weight, not in volume, in weight. So if you can get right in here, and I just want to show everybody when you cook this down. So you want to have a flat edge spoon and make sure your heat is low. So I'm going to turn the heat right off here because the pan's already. And I've got my cream is about room temperature. Now you see how it's got lumps in there? We want to cook the flour down and we want no lumps. So you've got to make sure you want it smooth and creamy. And it'll almost do it on its own. But if you see anything, that's why I love the wooden. Now to taste it right away, it would taste kind of grainy and almost like it would taste like flour. But you don't want it to taste like that. So as you cook it with the fat, it'll cook all that out of there. And this is gonna, I'll tell you, this smells so good in here with the garlic and the olive oil and the butter. So if you can see that right now, can you see how that's smoothed out? There's a few little bumps. See that? There's just a couple. But see how it makes a nice creamy sauce right there? So that's essentially your roux. Right, and you want to make sure any flour, anything, you don't want to have any flavor, taste of a flour. So I'm really careful with a flat bottom, and I stir this a lot. To me, this is the most important part right here, is cooking down that roux. I want it to be smooth and silky. The worst thing you could ever have in a meal is to, you know, get like a clump of uncooked flour. It would be terrible, it tastes terrible. Ruin the whole dish. So here we go. This is beautiful. Okay, guys. So you see how nice and silky that is? So if I move that up, right, there's no lump. It's perfectly smooth. So once it's smooth, look how beautiful that is, right? Now once that's smooth, I've got my milk. I'm going to turn the heat back on. Okay, guys. So I've got this cooked down, the roux. Oh my God, it smells delicious. So I've cooked or heated up the flour with the fat, okay? And again, it's not quite where I want it. So I turn the heat back up, and I want it to start to turn brown. I want it to just start to turn brown. Because then I know I'm warming up, if you will, or heating up the flour. Essentially, you're cooking the flour. And right now, it's the color of flour and olive oil and butter. So until you cook it, if you don't cook it down, you still get the flavor. Now that's the roux. We're going to add the sweet cream to it. That's going to create the bechamel or the bechamel, and you've heard it pronounced many different ways, which is known many times as a French sauce, but it was actually originated in Italy. So we're going to actually add the milk, and once I add the milk and it starts to thicken, that's essentially your white sauce or the bechamel sauce, okay? And we're going to add that in between. Now here's my garlic. See that? And it's almost where I want it. It's not exactly, but it's almost there. So one of the tricks that I use is I'll take something like a wooden, and I want to see when I push on it, when you push on it, how soft is it? If it's nice and soft and doesn't really have any pushback or crunch to it, you know you're there or almost there. If you push down on it, you start to feel it kind of push back crunch like it would be something raw, then it's not ready. So I gotta tell you, ready or not, that smells really good. So, okay, so here we go. We've got about 4 cups of the spinach, right? Now remember, the spinach's got a lot of moisture in it, so you want to cook some of that away as well, because you don't want your lasagna to be soggy, right? So I'm going to clean that out. I've got my little spoon. Now watch how much this cooks down, because it looks like you've got a lot of volume. What you'll realize here is this starts to cook down already. You're going to see it'll drop, and it'll be hardly anything left. I'm just going to go ahead and put that cover on there, like 2 or 3 minutes, right? Now this should be heating up really nice, which it is. You see here how it's starting to bubble, right? And look at that. Now watch. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but you see how it's just starting to brown, right? So she's essentially ready. So see how it's browning? You don't want to burn it. You got to stay with it. But, you know, understanding how to make a roux is really important if you're looking to make that core for a lot of different sauces and soups. And well, I'll tell you, it's really easy though, right? So remember, add your fat, cook it down, melt it, I should say. Yeah, this is almost there. And then you're going to add your flour, and then just take it off the heat, get everything smooth and silky, then add the heat again, introduce the heat whenever you, because it's already warm, right? Then add your heat. I do it that way, because if not, sometimes you'll see people that'll burn, or they're trying to get all the lumps out while it's heating up. It's not the way to do it. So, and this is great. And this is, again, that traditional white sauce. And we are there. So now this is heated up beautifully, right? So now I'm going to add the milk or sweet cream. So in this case, I've got 2.5 cups. Okay, so I've got 2.5 cups. And just add it slow because you don't want to, there you go, you can come right in here. You don't want to stop the whole cooking process. See how it's starting to work away the, and we're gonna introduce some fat. And don't worry what it's doing right there because it's all gonna mix really nice. Hey guys, so I just pulled this off the heat because it got thick enough. You see that? Look how beautiful that is, nice and smooth and silky. So I just go through if there's any bump or bubble or what have you, any clumps in there, I just smooth it out with the back of my spoon. And there really wasn't much. The one thing just to remind yourself is keep your cream or whatever milk you add to it, try to keep it warm or certainly no colder than room temperature. That way when you add it, it doesn't, like I showed you, it won't stop the cooking process. But this is perfect. Look at that. And that's, some people ask me like, hey, how thick you want it? That's how thick you want it. You want it thick just like that because essentially it's like you're adding a cheese in the layer. And that's the traditional baclamel. That's like a French baclamel. That's how you say it. But that's how you mix it. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That's gorgeous. Okay, so guys, what I did here just at the end, now this is still pretty warm, okay? I added some salt and some pepper just to taste. Now the butter we used had salt in it, so that's why I'm always a little bit hesitant about adding any salt. I added a couple of grounds of fresh ground pepper, a couple of rounds of it. Look at how beautiful that is. Isn't that nice? And then last but not least, our nutmeg, right? So I want to sprinkle that now. I'll tell you, anytime you're doing anything with cream, or dairy products, especially like a cheese with a high fat content, you gotta add nutmeg. And a little bit goes a long way. But you want to add that nutmeg because what it does is it enhances, it brings out all that depth of flavor that you normally wouldn't taste. And it's Italy. I mean, it's Italy, you know. I love when I share that with you guys. I always talk about like taking a trip to Italy. That's what it reminds me of when I have some of these dishes. You know, it brings me back to my childhood. Some of these great dishes that my grandparents used to make, or my aunt, or my uncle. But also, it just takes me back to Italy. I've been fortunate enough to be able to travel all through Italy, and you know, you find the greatest restaurant in the middle of nowhere that overlooks some water, or some lake, or the end of some street, and you go in there and have a meal with your family and some loved ones, and you just absolutely share some of the greatest memories. And you always relate it to food, at least we do. So it's always related to that phenomenal meal that you had. And you'll take a picture and you'll tell somebody about it, but unless you can taste it or be there or have that experience, you know, they just can't fully experience it in full. So now I've got my nutmeg mixed, I've got my salt, I added just a little bit of salt and some pepper, and that's our white sauce. That's it, that's beautiful. I'm gonna let that cool a little bit. I don't want it hot, and then I'm gonna add that just like a cheese in between the layers of our lasagna. It's gonna be fantastic. I'll talk to you guys in a minute. All right, guys. Woo! Boy, that smells good. And there's our spinach, and we're done. So I'm gonna let all this cool. But look at that. See how the spinach cooked right down? And you got the. Boy, can you guys smell that? Oh my gosh. You know, the garlic and the olive oil and the spinach. See that? So I'm gonna let the spinach cool with our white sauce, right? With our baclamel, right? I've got that with the nutmeg, salt, pepper. We've got flour, butter, olive oil. We've got this going, which is our spinach with garlic and olive oil. Molto delicioso. And then I've got my Parmesan and Romano. I've got my Bolognese sauce. Remember, the Bolognese sauce has an enormous amount of flavor in it already, right? So we got our homemade sauce, and then we got our lasagna pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let everything cool, get down to about room temperature. When it's done, then I'm going to basically put everything together. I'm going to construct our lasagna, pop it in the oven. Oh, a couple hours, we're going to have a great feast. I'll talk to you guys in a minute. Hey guys, all right, so what we've done is we've got everything ready to go, right? We got a Bolognese sauce, which is about room temperature, Romano, Parmesan cheese. We've got, look at how all that spinach cooked down. Isn't that amazing? That was 4.5 cups, 5 cups of spinach. So there's our spinach. I've got a spoon and everything, right? And then we've got our Bacamel sauce, which is our white sauce. My camera person said it tasted like, when she tasted it, it tasted like our milk gravy, which is essentially what it is. It's milk gravy. So now I've got a pound of lasagna, which in this dish is going to give us like 7 layers. So we're never gonna put 7 layers. We're gonna put 3 to 4 layers in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the lasagna off to the side. And then this is the fun part. This is a lot of times where the kids like to come in, but I'm gonna take some bolognese sauce and I'm gonna put it in the bottom. And you wanna put a ton, but you definitely want, oh, look at that nice hunk of meat. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's nice. Bolognese is typically gonna be made with beef, pork, veal, and again, bologna is just known for its meats. They're delicious. So I don't wanna have that big hunk of meat in there. So I was cooking that earlier, it must have. Good, okay. All right, so there's our base, right? And now you're just doing layers, right? It was like our tiramisu. I don't know if you guys remember our tiramisu. So look at that, we're gonna go like that, right? And then don't worry about, they're gonna overlap a little bit, right? How perfect is that, right? Then we're gonna hit some more sauce. Well, I got some hunks of meat in it. Look at that. That already looks good, doesn't it? So make sure you cover, my tip here, I've got several of them. You want to make sure you're covering your pasta well, because it's going to absorb that moisture, okay? So there's that. Then it doesn't really matter what order you're going to go in. In this case, we're going to put some spinach in there, okay? And you want to space it out because you don't want to get a huge mouthful of spinach, right? So, how nice, oh my God, that smells so good. So you've got the garlic, and I didn't put a lot of flavor in there, right? Garlic and olive oil, and oh, that looks good. So you want to just get a nice evenly spaced out. And we got some, I don't know what music we got going, but it's kind of fun. So it's a perfect music to go with our lasagna. Alright, so there you go, right? And then we've got, as it's described, our milk gravy. I'm going to get another spoon just to make sure that we're evenly spread, right? And it's like, again, it's like a milk gravy, it's like a cheese, right? And again, this will spread out through as it heats. This is great. This is a little cooler. Sometimes when you make the gravy, it might be a little bit thinner, which is fine. You know, it depends on how thick it comes out. But don't worry about a thing, because it's going to heat up and marry itself with each other. It's going to be so delicious. And again, this is our traditional, that's our traditional lasagna, right? And now we're going to take our Parmesan Reggiano Romano, Pecorino Romano. How you doing? Hey, all right. So there we go, right? And then we're just going to layer it again, right? So you're going to get 2 sheets of pasta, layer it across, right? Perfect. And I'm going to push it down a little bit just to make sure we get a nice spread, right? And then I'm going to take our bolognese, and then I'm just going to layer it. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and layer this across. All right, when it's done, I'll show you how we finish it off and we'll pop it in the oven. I'll talk to you guys in a minute. Hey guys, I'm feeling like I'm in Bologna. Oh, that is so good. I gotta tell you, the smell in this kitchen, unbelievable. So there I've got, right? I got 4 layers. I topped it off with our milk gravy, as it's being called, right? Our roux or bechamel sauce. Topped it off with our Parmesan and Romano cheese, all right? And our bechamel sauce and our bolognese sauce, right? Oh my God, it smells great. So I've got it all in there. Then I'm gonna cover it. As I told you guys before, you wanna cover it with aluminum. Let me tell you why. You definitely want to cover it regardless, because there's going to be a lot of liquid in there, right? Moisture, and you want that to actually cook the pasta, and you want all the flavors from the cheese, from the bechamel sauce, from the sauce. You want all that to marry, and you want it to be absorbed by the steam and the moisture. You want it to be absorbed in the pasta. So leave it in about 30 minutes, give or take. But in this case, with this size dish at 350 degrees, we're going to leave it in about 30 minutes. Then when I'm done with it, I'm going to pull the top off, because I want the top to crisp. I want the cheese to brown and get crispy. So when I cut into it, it gives you that actually added texture. It changes the flavor. When you heat the cheese up to that temperature, it's going to be absolutely delicious. So I've got my oven at 350. This is just, here's dinner right here, man. And I've got my oven at 350 degrees. And we're on bake, and that'll be perfect. And this is what I've learned. It's a lot cheaper to make a bolognese lasagna than it is actually to take a trip to Bologna in Italy. And you can almost get the same flavor. Maybe not. I'll tune back to you guys in about 40 minutes. You guys ready to have some dinner? I am. Talk to you in a minute. Hey guys, welcome back. It's been about 50 minutes. So about 40 minutes in, I saw it starting to bubble, so I took the aluminum foil off. And like I said, you want to use about 10 minutes to get that top nice and crisp, okay? So here we go. Oh baby, let me get over here. I gotta tell you, the smell is incredible. This puppy is hot. Woo! Oh, is that good? Oh, welcome to Bologna, Italy, right there, man. Okay. So that's our lasagna. Now, normally what you want to do is we're going to let this set, maybe like 10-15 minutes, and it'll actually sink a little. It'll drop, and then it'll start to harden and solidify. Now, a few things that we did is we made our sauce, our white sauce, a little bit firmer. And even the bolognese sauce was firmer. So what you're gonna, it's not gonna be a watery lasagna is the point. So whether you make it with mozzarella or ricotta or any other types of cheeses, or even some of the meats, you wanna make sure you drain everything out so it becomes nice and firm, so you get a nice firm lasagna. It doesn't get all watery. So we're gonna let this cool for a little bit, and then after it sets, we'll tune back, we'll take a bite, we'll try it out, we'll take a trip right to Bologna, Italy. Talk to you in a minute. Are you ready? Telling you what, that is seriously good. All right, so you see how it dropped down a little bit? And look at that, it's still pretty warm. We're not waiting though. I'm just gonna tell you, we're not waiting the whole time. Look how perfect that is. So remember I said the pasta would cook. And normally you'd probably let it cool a little bit more, but everybody's been waiting. We're ready to eat. Oh, that's perfect. So I'm going to cut that right around. So what you've got here, you've got those layers, right? You see the spinach, our white sauce. You see how the top is nice and crusty, nice in a puddle of our bolognese sauce. Is that absolutely delicious? Oh my God. We got to take a taste of that puppy right there. Hold on, hold on. All right, we're going to hop on a plane. We're going to Bologna right now. Here we go. Oh, I can smell the spinach. I can't even talk. My mouth is watering. The spinach and the cheese. That's hot. Are you guys ready? I'm ready. That is seriously yum right there. I tell you, the sauce, that white sauce, and the spinach, they go together so perfectly. And then you got the Romano and the Parmesan, and then the bolognese sauce with the meat, and just a little bit of that sweetness. Oh my God, it's absolutely delicious. I'm gonna take one little bit more. That was hot, just to warn you. You know what? Just one little bit more, right there. Oh look, it's giving me a little trouble. You know, and you get that, you get all of those flavors, like I said, they marry. Absolutely delicious. And like I said, that spinach just blends with it perfectly. It's not too much, it's cooked down, it's got the garlic. There isn't the one thing great about this recipe, there isn't one flavor that comes out at you overpowering the other flavors. Everything just melts perfect. It's absolutely a perfect dish. And you can tell why Bologna, being the really origin of lasagna, why that dish just became so popular. Absolutely delicious. Guys, thanks for taking a trip to Italy with me, allowing me to share some of my traditions, my heritage with you. Don't forget to visit our website. We've got a lot of great products for sale, including our Vito and Joe's olive oil, which would make a great gift at any time of the year. We've also got some other products on there. And don't forget to like our Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can get any of our upcoming recipes, as well as all the recipes we've done over the last year. Again, thanks. Have a great time enjoying your family. I'll talk to you guys next week. It's the